Hello and thank you for watching the short subject, Automation and Security. Is it a double-edged sword? Most organizations are focused on building out security operation centers, and in many of them they use a significant number of tools. I've seen anywhere from 20 up to 80 or even 100 different tools deployed in an environment, all based on protecting different types of assets and devices and people and data. And when you get into specific industries like finance or energy and utilities and government, the number of tools can multiply. And there's very little chance that any of those organizations are going to have enough staff to put one person on every tool 24 hours a day. And even if they did, the ability for all of those people to interact with one another in near real time, if any of them sees an indication of threat on one of their monitors, is very, very limited. So what happens is organizations are starting to line up all their different tools and processes so that they can be triggered through a set of chain reactions. That the moment one thing is detected, a series of other things can be enacted or put into motion so that this issue can be isolated, quarantined, remediated as quickly as possible. And this leads to the concepts around orchestration and automation. So orchestration is the concept of all of these different things playing together nicely and sharing information to create informed decisions. And automation is what happens post orchestration to take action to help resolve issues or quarantine items or shut people out of environments. And so when you create this environment where you have all these different tools speaking to each other and you have the ability for the systems to take actions almost autonomously from individuals, you can create a very nice, in theory, architecture for security that will secure and safeguard your environment. But what you're actually doing is you're creating an analog to the human body, both the nervous system and the immune system, because you have the ability now, without conscious thought, for a system to react to a threat, to harm, to injury, and try and remove itself from that environment and also self heal. And this can be a very positive thing because it allows you to do more with less, to keep the bad stuff out, to let the good stuff in, and be able to still get visibility and reporting to all of these capabilities. But there's also risk to doing this in a security environment. In a human body, you can introduce bad things, and you can make those bad things do bad things to your body. But you can also cause a problem where the systems designed to protect you and heal you turn on you. And we see this, unfortunately, quite commonly in the human body, and they're called autoimmune diseases. But as we get into orchestration and automation of security systems, those systems can become vulnerable to the same types of problems as a human body. They can become vulnerable to the symptoms that can be caused by autoimmune diseases. And we've seen this happen very recently, just a few days ago, where an antivirus provider made a mistake. They simply classified the Windows operating system as a virus. And because of the automation and orchestration that exists within that platform, it began reading Windows system files as malicious and taking the steps to secure the systems. And inherently, entire companies were unable to access their own systems because the, the immune system, the antivirus software that was designed to protect those systems, thought that the normal processes within the systems were now bad and locked everyone out. But in addition to that, popular sites like Facebook and Bloomberg were also flagged as phishing sites, and they were also blocked. So not only did you have people not able to access their own systems, people that could get into their systems could not access external sites. And all of this happened because of a mistake. But what happens if it's not a mistake? What happens if you've got a bad actor that is targeting your environment? So in that model, if I'm a bad actor, I've got Trojans and other tools in my environment that I'm going to use to find the people that have security controls in an enterprise. And I can use LinkedIn as well and exploit social media to identify people with titles that would be in power positions over security infrastructure and that would understand the nuances of advanced threats. And so I can target those. And once I've got them targeted, I'm going to deploy decoy infections. I'm going to make those machines sick. And I'm going to count on the fact that an enterprise environment has an orchestration and automation environment in action, because I'm going to count on an autoimmune response. And that autoimmune response is going to detect the fact that these users have either compromised systems or credentials or both, and lock them out until I can clear them. And what I've effectively done now is, as a bad actor, I haven't stolen anything. I haven't even compromised any critical systems or systems that hold any crown jewels. But I have compromised the ability for the security teams to do their jobs in near real time like I need them, like an organization would need them to. So what I'm going to do next, after I've triggered this autoimmune response, is I'm going to plant a primary infection, break in, and then ultimately steal what I want to steal from the environment. And I can do all of this if I do it rapidly, if I've done my research, if I have low and slow attacks already in the environment and I'm mining data so I know the locations of where things belong and what I want to take. I can do it quite rapidly. So this doesn't have to be, I don't have to lock people out of their environment for hours and hours or days. I can potentially get the whole thing done in a matter of 20 or 30 minutes. And even if it gets detected and shut down after half an hour because people get their credentials back or their devices back online, that's still potentially enough time for me to do damage. And that's way too much time to just sit there unprotected. Now, this is obviously a simplified and somewhat extreme example, but it is plausible. And it is important to understand that it is plausible. And so there's a few things I want you to take away from this. Orchestration and automation are very good things, and they have their place, especially when it comes to patching systems and doing vulnerability scans and other things. But on a broad scale, as it relates to end-to-end security of an enterprise, you should always be designing a measured response to threats. There's a pyramid of escalating response that we teach in self-defense, and the concept is that if somebody just shouts at you, you can ignore them. If somebody threatens physical harm, you need to determine exactly what type of response you need to take to that, whether you need to defend yourself or flee. If somebody threatens your life with a lethal weapon, then you need to take immediate and decisive action to protect yourself from that imminent threat. And the same thing needs to happen as you build orchestration systems for security. The nature of the indication of threat or compromise needs to be balanced with the way you're choosing to detect and respond to it. It cannot be everything gets the same treatment. Humans should always be in the decision and action chain. And the reason why is because, especially with advanced threat and zero-day attacks and next generation types of hacks, they're not always going to be detected. But a virus or a worm or a Trojan could be a precursor to one of those things. And so simply just saying, oh, yes, we've seen 50 viruses come up in the past week may not be enough. What happened immediately after each of those viruses? Was there some other strange activity in the flow data, in the firewalls, in the databases? You always need a person to look at it. You have to be more focused on what you don't know about, because that's more important than everything you know about. If you're seeing signatures getting matched and you're finding viruses and worms and Trojans in your environment and they're being effectively detected and quarantined locally, that's great. Look elsewhere and make sure you know what's going on. And that's why it dovetails nicely into the final point, which is take absolutely nothing for granted. Everything is a potential indicator of threat until you determine that it isn't. And just make sure that you have that in mind as you deploy these orchestration systems and as you choose to roll out various forms of automation for your detection and response in your security architectures. So while orchestration and automation can be very good things, you also have to be careful that you don't get cut on the other side of them. Thank you.